Consoles, frame rates, video games. They're more than a linear path. They are a prism of endless possibility, where simple change in platform can branch off into infinite realities. I am the reviewer. I am your guide through the worst of these titles. Come with me and ponder the question, what shit?
Several years ago, I reviewed the Iron Man movie licensed game on the Wii, and from what I understand, the PlayStation 2. And to the surprise of pretty much everyone, it was pretty good. The flight controlled beautifully, the controls were smooth as can be, even with relatively seamless and smooth incorporation of the Wii's motion controls. The combat was a little easy, but it was engaging by having you constantly shuffle up weapons and strategies. It expanded on the movie's themes by having Iron Man realize that his responsibilities go beyond just cleaning up his own legacy, and they crammed a lot of variety into the game's 4-hour playtime. And then Iron Man 2 on the Wii was pure shovelware. But the piper has to be paid eventually, because while A2M was making the good Iron Man game, Secret Level was making a similar yet different one for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And that version wasn't so good. I also joked in the original review that I didn't play the 360 version because I have standards. I guess once you reviewed games called Sanic the Hot Dog and AIDS Moji, you have no use for standards anymore. What? Alright, you know the story by now. Tony Stark, hedonistic billionaire weapons inventor, is captured by terrorists and forced to build weapons for them, but he builds himself a suit of power armor to escape, and the game's first level is something of a tutorial as you bust out of the terrorist camp. Your mentor Yinsen walks you through basic movement and functions while you hose down terrorists with flamethrowers. Two observations. One, the flamethrower effects were much better on the Wii, or at least you could tell where you were shooting. And two, the walking controls are heinously clunky, as Tony lurches to a full stop every time you change direction. It's a good thing I doubt we're going to be doing much walking on this adventure. Also, you lose points for not playing Black Sabbath! Tony returns home having realized that making and selling weapons for personal profit with zero accountability or control over who actually uses them is really, really bad. Because the MCU totally wasn't political before Captain Marvel and Black Panther.
Imagine what the Pentagon could do with an army of Iron Men.
And imagine what the bad guys could do.
Can't control that.
And he becomes the superhero Iron Man to make sure that other bad guys don't use his weapons for evil. What's interesting is that the Wii and 360 versions actually have the exact same cutscenes, right down to this hilarious glitch where Tony's eyes just pop open in a second. And they have largely the same script and recorded lines too. The assorted villains just get more dialogue on the 360. So the solid story where Tony comes to realize that he has an obligation to use his power to do more good in the world is still intact. It just resonates less when the entire game is pissing you off. Level 2, Tony's built a new model of the Iron Man suit that can fly, and we have another tutorial teaching the flight mechanics and proper combat. And the flight really controls like butt. Holding down the left shoulder trigger makes Iron Man hover upward, and releasing it immediately has him fall to the ground, and holding the shoulder halfway down has him maintain a steady altitude. Except this is a friggin' action game. You're not gonna gently and precisely hold the trigger down only a specific amount, you're gonna hold it up or down. So trying to maintain the height you want will have Iron Man constantly bobbing up and down and up and down as you keep holding and releasing the damn button, just trying to get the drunk asshole to stay where you want him. Sorry about the flying, guys. I really missed the booze when I was in Afghanistan. I really needed a liquor, or 7. Adding to the drunken feel of the flying, you can hold the left bumper to fly in a given direction, and hold A after and while holding the bumper to fly faster. Pressing A before that does a dodge, and while you eventually get used to the awkward button holds, you get less used to how the camera swerves to a batshit angle every single time that you turn. You can't tell where you're going, and you can barely steer. And in this tutorial mission, Iron Man keeps shutting off the damn flight thrusters and lurching to a halt out of nowhere. I'm not releasing the button, I have plenty of energy, but he keeps slamming the brakes like he's crashing into invisible birds. It really is bizarre how the Wii's flight controls are an effortless joy to use, and here you're constantly fighting the game to go anywhere.
Need some help? From you? Yes, please.
As a final test, they have you try to dodge and grab some missiles that are fired at you. In theory. See, I had to wait forever for missiles to spawn for the dodge tutorial, and the whole catching thing, the missiles just never spawned at all. I eventually just kind of shot the drone target, and the game called it done. Game's full of jank, and we haven't even started yet. Alright, screw the tutorials, time to dig into the game as Iron Man goes to pound some payback into the terrorists that captured him. Each level is a large and pretty wide open area where you're tasked with blowing up a few objectives, sometimes split into 2 waves, until a boss spawns for you to fight. And in this first real level, you go around blowing up weapons caches and transport trucks by, honestly, just kind of idly floating around holding the fire button. The game only gives you 2 weapons, Iron Man's palm-mounted lasers, the repulsors, and a missile of some kind. Both have unlimited ammo, but the missiles have to recharge after each use. So most of the game, you're just flying around holding the right trigger to shoot automatically. There's zero strategy to combat or weapon selection. You do always have the option of running up and punching enemies, if you don't mind getting shot to hell while getting into range. If you hold B while next to a vehicle, it'll trigger an instant takedown, but it doesn't always work. It's not much faster than just shooting them outright. I'm not even sure if there's any benefit to doing it. So yeah, floating around boringly spamming lasers is pretty much the entirety of the combat. Thrilling superhero non-action. At the end of the level, 3 US Navy jets fly in to fight Iron Man. Unlike the movie, your flight is so terrible that you have no chance of flying after or dogfighting them, so you have to shoot them down when they do a flyby to come and attack you.
Where are the pilots?
They're gone, sir. They are deceased, sir.
Wait, the pilots are dead? Iron Man, on his very first mission, just murdered 3 members of the US Armed Forces in cold blood? What the hell? Every level in the game has a bonus objective that you can complete for extra money for upgrades, and in this level you're supposed to initiate takedowns on the planes to eject the pilots safely, which requires maddeningly precise timing since, again, you can't chase after them. And the consequences for failing these bonus objectives are always staggeringly dark. Fail to finish the airship level in time? Well, the wreckage is gonna level an entire city because you couldn't stop 9/11 on steroids, jackass! Magia will send tanks to wipe out warehouses full of civilians or fire missiles into nearby population centers, and the game doesn't actually give a crap whether you stop them or not. Fail to break the tether on the satellite that you've just set to blow up? Well, the debris is gonna friggin' crater Lord only knows how many cities and probably kill millions! Or worse, just kick off the plot of Devil's Third. It's not a bad idea to replicate the high stakes of superhero battles, but it feels all kinds of weird that you can finish levels completely fine with the blood of thousands of innocents on your hands, and the game continues like normal. You outright murder 3 of Rhodey's men, and he's still super chummy with you the very next cutscene.
What in the hell were you doing out there?
Let's not get into all that stuff. The planes, the missiles, the dogfight.
Yeah, or the fact that I killed 3 pilots. Call me crazy, it just feels like the game should at least punish you a little for playing Zack Snyder's Iron Man. By now, I imagine most of you are thinking, you made a review for this? The controls aren't that bad, who cares about the bonus objectives, and what do you care if the combat sucks? You just got done with Saw, where there's barely any combat to begin with. And you're right, there's an elephant in this room, and I think it's high time that you met him. In level 4, you lay siege to Magia's factories to stop their weapons production and... Okay, pause a minute. Can we isolate the sound of Iron Man's jets real quick? Yeah, thanks. Because it sounds identical to the jetpack from Shadows of the Empire! I start flying toward the first factory command center and... Ow! 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 Where the hell are all these missiles coming? Ow! What the hell? Okay, go around taking out the factories, dodging a fair amount of missiles. Oh, crap on toast! That's a lot of helicopters! Shit on a shingle! That's a lot of missiles! Ow! Taking down gunships, got to fly away from all of them. What the hell just happened? I had half a health bar left and I just dropped dead anyway! I'm flying at top speed! How is everyone so freaking accurate? God damn it! Taking cover, I'm taking cover, I'm doing what I'm supposed to! The cover's doing nothing! Shit! It's a freaking missile. It is designed to blow up. Why is this thing such a damaged son of a bitch? I'm taking down enemies as fast as I can. I'm keeping as mobile as possible. You'd think I dodged some of this crap on accident! Crap! 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 There's so much shit! So much shit! So much that are you freaking kidding me? Iron Man 360's problem is that it's really friggin' hard! From level 4 onwards, every single friggin' map in the game is laid out to where you'll be drowning in enemies that spam homing missiles at you. Unless you play like a complete wuss, you will die in seconds absolutely everywhere that you go. 4 lives, no checkpoints. Every single objective is flanked by about a dozen turrets hosing you down with lasers and warheads, plus tanks and howitzers piling on more missiles, plus entire fleets of choppers piling even more missiles on top of that. And enemies have a ridiculously huge range and can still hit you from clear across the map. You often won't be able to tell where you're getting shot from because the thing that's shooting at you is a tiny speck 1.5 miles in the other direction. And you might say that I'm just playing like an idiot, and of course you're supposed to play a shooter game by using cover to avoid damage, numbskull. And you'd be wrong. You can tell the game is not supposed to play this way, and I can prove it. As the game makes damn sure to remind you in what has to be well over half the loading screens, you can press B right as you're about to get hit by a missile to grab it and huck it at an enemy for massive damage. You're told this several times and reminded that hucking an enemy missile is the strongest attack in your arsenal by a pretty wide margin. You're basically meant to play like an asshole meta Smash Ultimate player and just counter every single attack that's sent at you. Trouble is, the missile catching doesn't work! I tried it! Not only does it take ludicrously precise timing and twitch reflexes, not only do most of the missiles fly at you from off screen so you can't time a grab at all, not only are so many missiles fired at you at once that catching one just holds you in place to get shot and killed by 9 others, not only does it only seem to work about a quarter of the time even when done correctly, but the few times that I was able to catch a missile, there's a fair chance that Iron Man will just miss the throw anyway, so the move does nothing. So this major, vitally important mechanic that they tell you to use non-stop doesn't work or do crap! So you're left with an abusively difficult game that spams cheap insta-kill damage at you the entire freaking time that you play! There are a few things that you can do to avoid dying. Different armor parts give you countermeasures like flares or a frankly wholly useless stealth mode that drains all your power. Your best bet is a dodge that'll avoid missiles but won't do much about the constant hail of gunfire. The only surefire way to avoid getting hit is to run and hide like a little bitch. Fly up, shoot 1 or 2 enemies, and then hide behind a hill to grow back all the health that just got shot off. Slowly chip away at all the enemies, making gradual progress towards your actual objective. The gameplay becomes a slow, tedious, and painful process because you have to play as conservatively as humanly possible or else you explode. And sometimes, even that doesn't help. Another problem is that in levels 1 and 2, the training stages, your secondary weapons are super accurate missiles that can kill just about anything, but starting at level 3, they swap out the actual good secondary weapon for a cluster grenade thing that haphazardly sprays projectiles that are barely aimed and barely seem to hit squat. They train you on good weapons, and then stick you with shit. Level 6 is an airship that the Maggia group is using as their final fortress, having blown up their mansion. You have to destroy the airship on a time limit by flying all over the place, blowing up guns, cooling systems, and finally the reactor. Often the mission markers just point vaguely to the inside of the ship so that you have no idea where to go, and you have to fly to the front of the ship, but only one specific part of the front of the ship, or else you get sucked into an engine. Man, they kind of predicted the future with that one. This damn thing is lined with missile turrets, covered in respawning missile-toting mech suits, and swarming in constantly respawning missile-spewing helicopters. You're on the clock, and the never-ending maelstrom of warheads makes it damn near impossible to survive, let alone get any work done. Nothing you do will avoid this much damage. Wait, what the? Oh, silly me! You can destroy 2 helicopter pads to keep the choppers from respawning and make this level playable. How nice of the game to not give any remote hint that you could do that, but whatever. Is preemptively destroying hangars to stop so many enemies from spawning a tactic that works or is even possible in literally any other level? No! What's kind of funny is that while the Wii version has actual boss fights, easy and sucky as they are, the 360 version mostly doesn't bother. You fight Whiplash and he just kind of yanks you to the ground every now and then. Doesn't seem to actually try to kill you. In the Wii version, Whitney Frost locks you in a room with super lasers and then dies in the rubble when you blow them up. And in the 360, she just kind of drops dead of her own accord, I think. I should count my blessings though, because when the game does decide to throw in a real boss fight, it damn near breaks the entire game. Level 7, Tony is asked to investigate a nuclear power plant being taken over in Russia by Advanced Idea Mechanics, with forces led by the supervillain Titanium Man. First, you fly around destroying anti-aircraft turrets, where missiles will rip you to shreds if you actually go to destroy them, and then Titanium Man powers up a massive energy cannon. You have to fly around destroying 3 energy cores, all of which are not only heavily guarded, but are protected by other damaged sponge dropships that poop out tanks to huck more missiles at you. And the entire time being savaged by an energy cannon that'll wipe out most of your health at once, which they were too lazy to actually animate a beam so that you can tell where you're getting shot from and how to dodge it, so you just spontaneously explode. Oh, and the enemy units now include rocket launcher soldiers with jetpacks that poop out from the dropships in groups of 3. So when you go looking for the enemy that keeps shooting at you, it's a microscopic speck half a mile away that you can't even see. Then you have to destroy the cannon, a total damage sponge unto itself and heavily guarded, in 1 minute, or else a reactor melts down and untold thousands of people will die. That doesn't fail you the level. Stopping Chernobyl Part 2 is a completely optional bonus objective. You can still win and get the good/only ending completely unimpeded, while thousands of civilians are dissolving from the radiation. But the biggest dick move of all is the fight with Titanium Man. He takes about 1 billion hits to put down, he constantly spawns flying missile troopers to back him up, the bastard heals himself a lot, and the absolute worst part, if he gets into close range, he uses an instant, untelegraphed, unavoidable one-hit kill move. I'm not joking. You're sent against a nigh-immortal jackass that kills you in 1 hit at the end of a brutally difficult level with, again, no checkpoints. Okay, I need to take a step back. There has to be some methodical way to beat this level. I changed out my suit's loadout to an armor that was more resistant to both kinds of damage, and switched to the shitty scatter grenades because they'll give me more DPS for destroying the cannon. Stationary target should be easy for those damn things to hit. I played the level as carefully as I could. I made damn sure to blow up every single vehicle so there'd be fewer enemies shooting at me later. Every single reactor I took careful cover, hiding behind a wall, popping up to wipe out every last enemy before taking out the objectives. I completely wiped clean the entire map to ensure that I'd be completely alone to fight Titanium Man. And all that work, effort, and preparation didn't do crap! I literally spent 25 minutes on that damn level, only to have to start over. If you didn't pay to upgrade your repulsors before getting here, you're boned! And can you blame me for not upgrading the repulsors? My grenades weren't hitting jack, my armor is weak, my flight is janky. I thought the repulsors were the only things that already worked right! I did eventually bring down Titanium Man. The boss fight alone literally took me 20 minutes. 20 minutes of hosing him down with repulsor fire and continuously dodging away from him so that he couldn't use the death touch. 20 minutes of him regenerating all the damage that he took, and there is nothing that you can do to stop him. I checked every GameFAQs page that I could find. They don't even mention him healing. I thought that since he stands still to recover health, he had to get in close and punch his lights out, but nope. That actually triggers dialogue from Jarvis going, "Nice try, jackass." My best guess as to how this fight works is that Titanium Man goes to recover health if you kill the jetpack missile troopers that spawn during the fight. And this moon logic mechanic is never so much as hinted at in-game. You're supposed to let 3 powerful enemies fire deathly strong missiles at you the entire fight, or else the boss gets all his health back. So now the game's actively punishing you for trying to play smart. And the sick thing is, I found out while editing this video that my PVR accidentally deleted all my initial footage of this level, so I bumped down my arsenal to where it was when I first tried it and I played the level again. Titanium Man barely tried to heal himself. Apparently I was just profoundly unlucky during my first dozen or so attempts at the level. It took me almost 2 hours of trying to beat this level, and the worst part, I already know from the Wii version that there's a rematch in the near future. By pressing directions on the control pad, you can divert your extra suit power to one of 4 subsystems. But you won't, because almost all the systems are useless. Diverting power to thrusters lets you fly using afterburners for longer, which you'll never do because I can count on one hand the number of times you actually need to fly for any extended amount of time. Diverting power to melee lets you punch harder, which you'll never do because you can't melee attack anything while airborne, and any enemies you might want to melee on the ground like tanks, ATVs, and howitzers, you can just as easily trigger an uninterruptible instant takedown with the exact same button. Diverting power to life support seems like a no-brainer given how often you'll be dying, but the game never explains what exactly powering the life support system does. It wasn't until I was almost finished with the game that I caught a hint on a loading screen. All the life support system does is recover health faster after taking damage. And I need to slap in allegedly on that statement because even watching for it, I couldn't tell a damn bit of difference whether I had power to life support or not. Even if it worked, it doesn't soften blows or prevent you from taking a shitload of damage at once, which is the one thing that would be kind of useful, and Coinky Dink of Coinky Dinks is exactly what the armor system does in the Wii version! So the only system worth powering is weapons, since it lets your repulsor, that thing you'll be firing nonstop on pretty much every single enemy in the game because it's the only shittin' gun that you're given, it fires about twice as fast to skyrocket your damage output. Pour your energy into the one option that actually does something. You don't really aim your weapons in combat either. All the shooting is done with an automatic targeting system that locks onto an enemy when you look in their general direction. Problem is, there are crap loads of enemies spawned everywhere that you go, and you have zero control over which member of a veritable horde the weapons will lock onto. And once the system picks an enemy, you have to friggin' wrestle with the game to wrench the auto-target onto something else. Like here where I'm trying to blow up the cannon before it melts down, but the game's auto-lock-on is dead set on me firing at some worthless cannon fodder on the ground. So taking out priority targets and actual tactics in combat? Pretty much impossible. Level 8, Tony is sent in to rescue a prototype destroyer that's been hijacked by AIM for its nuclear power source. This confused the hell out of me since in the Wii version, you're rescuing a big-ass aircraft carrier, the kind of ship that actually does run on nuclear power. And these two games are running on pretty much the same dialogue script, so wanna know how they cover the change? In neither version of the game do the actors actually say what kind of ship you're saving.
We've lost contact with one of our ships.
We lost contact with the ship some time ago.
And the nuclear reactor on that ship has got it in spades.
That's a sick kind of clever. This level has you fly around Foresight shooting enemies that confusingly are only sporadically marked as objectives and which keep respawning by the dozen after you think you're done with an area. By now I figured out that you need to play like a complete wuss to get anywhere, but it doesn't make the process any more fun. In the Wii version, you fight a villain called the Controller who's got mind control tech that he uses to invert your controls and to explain how the ship got hijacked. But in the 360 version, you have drones that screw with the camera and a drone brainwashing the destroyer that you were sent to rescue, but the Controller himself never shows up or even gets mentioned. Without having played a different port of the game for context, you're just kind of meant to infer that AIM has brainwashing tech out of nowhere that they never use again. But at least the submarine can't be as bad of a boss as Titanium Man, right?
Submarine capable of repairing itself at an accelerated rate.
Cock! The bonus objective for this level is to not attack the destroyer as its weapons fire on you during the boss battle. You're supposed to shoot a mind-controlling drone that keeps respawning instead. Going for the bonus makes the level hard as balls because 10 turrets will shove 20 missiles up your ass at once every single time the submarine surfaces. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that you do go for the objective and try to shoot the drone without damaging any of the turrets like I did. Too bad! You can pretty much bet money that the game's auto-targeting will screw up, shoot one of the turrets, and immediately fail the objective over a broken mechanic that you have zero control over. Great. Next up, Titanium Man leads AIM in an invasion of Stark Industries, and they keep cutting between close-ups of Iron Man's model that looks crisp and clean, and Titanium Man's model that looks like someone sneezed all over my glasses. Come on, guys, de-blurry him for a cutscene, for crap's sake!
What's your status?
Polsky's launching an attack on Stark Industries. Well, on me, actually.
It's AIM, isn't it?
Yeah.
Died 8.47 seconds into the start of the level. Died twice within the first 30 seconds. Yep, that tracks. In this fight, Titanium Man heals himself by siphoning off the city's power grid, and you can only stop it by blowing up the city's power and murdering basically everyone that's in the hospitals at the time. Luckily, I didn't have to, because Titanium Man's brains just kind of dropped out his ass, and he stood there getting shot and didn't even try to heal himself. Next is the infamous level where AIM kidnaps Pepper, locks her in their own base, and then tries to blow up their own base with her inside it. This level spawns so ridiculously many enemies that the game had consistent frame rate issues trying to keep up. It's not bad enough that a non-stop hail of enemies and missiles attack the base to the point it'll be down 25% health almost immediately after starting, but you're expected to somehow find the time to ignore Pepper's building to fly clear across the map to protect 5 other civilian buildings for the bonus. Eat shit! Then you're on an island and Bruno Horgans built a giant energy cannon that you have to stop. Oh, come on! You don't want to use his proper supervillain name? The Melter? No, really. There's an actual supervillain in actual Marvel Comics whose actual name is The Melter. You fly around destroying 4 power stations to expose the center cannon. By now, the levels are just flat-ass built out of missile turrets, missile-spewing choppers, missile-spewing tanks, and missile-spewing mech suits. Friggin' Star Destroyers aren't this heavily guarded. And when I took care of the power stations and went to the center of the map, I died 3 times in rapid succession with no idea how! At least we're back to shitty bosses, though. The Melter stands completely still and barely even shoots at you, while the music and sound effects drown out Jarvis explaining the bonus objective. You're supposed to trick the Melter into shooting his own cannon before it nukes population centers. 1, damn near impossible, and 2, you can just blow up the cannon yourself. Then you fly to a satellite station that AIM is using to farm energy, where you take out 4 power stations to expose the center. This is almost the exact same as the last level! Only this time there isn't even a boss at the end! You shoot a stationary object to end this stage! They must want this crap over as much as I do! And now that AIM's been defeated, until the next game, and until the movie after that, and until the game based on the movie after that, and until the crapshit Avengers game way after that, it's time for the final showdown with Ironmonger. He just kind of floats around the middle of nowhere, flinging random projectiles at you. Literally, all you have to do is keep a building between the two of you so you can dodge the Unibeam attack that reads as a hit even if you avoid it. And Stain's health bar refills without explanation 5 shittin' times before the fight is over. And my favorite part is that after life bar 4 or so, he just rapid-fire rants every single one of Stain's big lines from the movie, completely unprompted.
And now, I'm gonna kill you with it. You never really did come home, did you? You left a part of yourself in that cave.
Well, almost all of his big lines.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a bunch of scraps!
I'm torn on whether the Wii version or this one has the crappier final boss fight, but the Wii version at least reenacts the part where you fry Stain's suit with the overloaded reactor instead of relegating it to a cutscene, and you get the big, inspiring, feel-good hero ending regardless of whether you bothered to save literally any civilians along the way. Based on the first MCU movie, plays like the first DCEU movie. The game isn't quite over yet, though. The 360 version has 5 bonus missions called One Man Army, where you have to destroy 80 enemies in 10 minutes to unlock some bonus costumes. And the sick thing is, the core levels are so terribly laid out and abysmally balanced that the optional time attack challenge missions are vastly easier than the actual campaign. So many enemies are clustered so tightly together that it's piss easy to hit the kill count. You hit up one enemy encampment and you easily get 30 kills. The bonus costumes are a cool addition, but unlike the Wii version where every suit played the same and the changes were purely cosmetic, here every alternate costume has a set-in-stone preset loadout of weapons, armor, and energy, and a good half the suits are borderline useless. The classic suits both run out of energy really damn quickly, severely nerfing your primary weapon that you absolutely need to clear out enemies, while the classic Mark I replaces your repulsor with horribly inaccurate missiles. The Extremis armor swaps out your missiles for a short-range energy pulse thing, which, fair is fair. The kill counter seemed to think that it was taking out a ton of enemies off-screen, and the biggest unlockable suit, the friggin' awesome ultimate reward that you want to fly the most because it's awesome, the Hulkbuster. It's the worst suit in the game by miles. It can barely move or fly, can't even use afterburners, its secondary weapon doesn't hit crap, its heavy repulsors can barely hit targets and are friggin' useless against the jets that swarm one-man army, it has barely, if any, more health than the other suits, and it can't friggin' dodge! It actually takes away the one ability that kinda helps you survive the enemy maelstroms. It makes you wonder if the devs even played their own game. Although if there's one sentence that describes Iron Man on 360 in its entirety, you'll wonder if the devs played their own game would sum the whole thing up pretty efficiently. Iron Man on the Xbox 360 is just crap. The levels are so insanely unbalanced that any fun or wonder you might have from playing a flying armored badass with an arsenal of weapons is replaced with frustration, irritation, and pure tedium as you're flat out drowned in enemies that can mop the floor with you. The Wii version made you feel like an awesome superhero who could take on the world. The 360 version makes you feel like a bewildered jackass scrambling through a war zone trying not to blow up. Go figure, one of the precious few licensed games where the Wii didn't get screwed. I guess all that's left to say in response to that is...
Looks like I'll be able to make my date with Miss Romanoff after all.
How did they predict that?
Good shot.
Pepper, call Danny Rand. Tell him I'll be able to make our golf game.
Oh, rolled a botch on the second one.